the wound of not feeling enough, the invisible root of your way of loving. There's a reason you keep loving someone who cannot give you anything, and it has nothing to do with them. It has to do with you, with something deeper that isn't visible at first glance, with a wound you haven't yet faced. When love becomes a struggle to be chosen, when you exhaust yourself trying to make someone value you, when you justify every slight with the hope that one day they'll change, what's speaking isn't your heart, it's your wound. And that wound has a name, the wound of not feeling enough. This is one of the most invisible yet devastating emotional wounds because it doesn't scream, it doesn't show, it isn't easily recognized, but it conditions every choice, every bond, every way you give and receive love. Most women who love from this place don't do it out of a lack of emotional intelligence. They do it because deep down, they're still trying to prove they deserve love. And there lies the knot. If you feel you must earn love, you're already starting from lack. Carl Jung said that what you don't make conscious repeats itself as fate. That's what happens when your wound chooses for you. Your wound seeks the same pattern over and over. Someone emotionally closed, unavailable, damaged. Someone who cannot give you anything real, but activates the illusion in you that if you can make them love you, you'll have proven your worth. But this is the trap. You're trying to heal your self-esteem through someone who, by definition, isn't available to love you. This dynamic doesn't start with them. It starts with your story, with that stage of your life where you felt your value depended on how much you struggled, where you learned you had to be more to be loved, more obedient, more perfect, quieter, more accommodating. That programming remains in your unconscious. So now, without realizing it, you seek to repeat the story, hoping this time it'll work out. This time they'll choose you. This time, love will heal what hurt. But it doesn't work that way. As long as your wound directs your relationships, all you'll feel is frustration, emptiness, and a constant sense of inadequacy. You strive, give everything, wait, and when you don't receive the same, you blame yourself. Maybe I was too intense. Maybe I expected too much. Maybe I shouldn't have said what I felt. And without realizing it, you become your own judge. What you don't see is that this dynamic isn't love. It's a defense mechanism. It's how your psyche tries to resolve what was left unresolved years ago. But no one will come to give you the love you're denying yourself. No one will fill the void where you abandoned yourself. This hurts, but it also liberates. Because the day you understand this, you stop begging for love, justifying absences, chasing someone who doesn't see you. You realize you don't need to convince anyone you're worthy. If someone doesn't see it, that's not your place. Carl Jung spoke of individuation as a process of internal integration, which begins when you dare to look at the wound without filters, when you realize that urgency to be loved comes from a part of you that was ignored long before this relationship, a part that now needs your presence, your containment, your validation. No one will rescue that inner child. No one will love her for you. That's your work. If you don't do it, you'll keep falling into the same relationships, with different names and faces but the same pattern. Loving those who cannot give you anything. Before blaming others, ask yourself, from what place am I loving? If you're loving from fear, abandonment, or emptiness, it's time to stop. See yourself, listen to yourself, heal. You can't keep giving yourself fully to someone who doesn't even know how to receive. That's not nobility. It's emotional sacrifice. Sacrifice doesn't build love. It drains you. This is the root of why you choose those who cannot give. But there's more to understand. Why does this lack attract you? Why does this coldness hook you? Why, even knowing it's unhealthy, can't you let go? This is the hidden logic of your wound. Why do you keep repeating what hurts you? Loving from lack. Why are you drawn to those who cannot give? There's a subtle pain that becomes a pattern when unhealed. A pain that makes you look in the wrong direction, convincing you love exists where it hurts most, making you feel that if someone doesn't choose you, you are the problem. And so the story repeats, attracting cold, distant, emotionally closed people who cannot give but imprint on your soul. It's not coincidence or bad luck. It's your wound speaking, choosing, repeating what's familiar. If you grew up in an environment where affection was scarce, where you had to fight for a touch, a kind word, part of you began associating love with sacrifice, pain, fear, waiting. Unconsciously, this becomes your emotional compass. Your unconscious seeks that same energy in relationships. If this is opening your eyes, imagine what's next. The unconscious always tries to complete itself, often through symbolic repetition. You unknowingly seek someone who makes you feel what you felt with the figure who hurt you, hoping this time it'll be different. But that's the greatest self-deception. Can you win the love of someone who has no love to give? You encounter someone emotionally absent, ambivalent. They pull you in, then ignore you. Instead of walking away, you cling harder. An ancient, hidden voice whispers, "If I make them choose me, then I'll be worthy." But that love never comes. You wait, endure, justify, believing you're fighting for something valuable when you're repeating your wound. Because the wound formed from lack, you feel comfortable where there's nothing, no reciprocity, giving everything for crumbs. You become an expert in settling, building castles from minimal gestures, a text, a glance. Your heart clings to unspoken promises, non-existent possibilities. The cruelest twist: when someone treats you well, cares for you, doesn't demand or belittle, you feel uneasy. It seems boring, too good. You reject it because your wound doesn't recognize healthy love. For you, love was always struggle, sacrifice, anxiety. Without drama, your system destabilizes. This isn't love. It's normalized emotional trauma. Your body learned to live on alert, expecting disappointment, fearing abandonment. Paradoxically, you feel more alive in painful relationships because pain has become your comfort zone. The pattern becomes addictive. Each rejection activates the ancient wound. The child who wasn't enough to be embraced, who wasn't seen, who had to earn every scrap of attention. That child still seeks someone to say, "I choose you, I love you, I see you." But you seek this in the wrong places. People incapable of giving what you deserve. The cycle repeats. Love becomes a battle you always lose, costing your self-esteem, energy, peace. This is where consciousness enters. As long as your wound remains in shadow, it will choose your relationships, disguise dependency as love, and make you think you're the problem. What you need isn't for someone else to change, it's for you to awaken. Recognize the pattern. See clearly. Loving from lack will never fulfill you. It only deepens emptiness. You deserve something different, but to receive it, you must stop chasing what cannot give. Emotional self-deception, justifying the unjustifiable out of fear of abandonment. When you're with someone who makes you feel invisible, confused, or used, part of you knows it, but the wounded part crafts another story. They're like this because they've suffered. They're afraid to love. Deep down, they care. You sustain the relationship with imagination, not reality. You twist abuse into sensitivity, coldness into trauma, indifference into fear of love, instability into depth. It feels noble, empathetic, but it's fear. Fear of admitting you're not being chosen. Fear of accepting they won't change. Fear of being alone with the open wound, without the illusion that made you feel accompanied. To avoid losing the illusion, you lose yourself. You justify their silence, mood swings, absences. They're going through something. They'll open up later. They're sweet sometimes. But you're using your own wounds as excuses to endure the unbearable. Using compassion as a shield to avoid facing abandonment. Because if you admit there's no love, no reciprocity, you'd have to leave. And that triggers your deepest wound. I'm not enough. If I leave, no one will ever truly love me. Maybe I'm asking too much. So you choose emotional safety, self-deception. It works until your body speaks. Anxiety, sleeplessness, losing yourself. One day, you realize your world revolves around someone who doesn't revolve around you. It breaks your soul. You feel the pain of the relationship and the betrayal of self. You lied, dimmed, convinced yourself enduring was love, all to avoid being alone. But that fear isn't new. It comes from early bonds where you needed affection and didn't get it, where you felt invisible and believed something was wrong with you. You learned to be understanding, good, quiet, adaptable. Now you repeat it. Your wound convinces you, if I'm patient, empathetic, loving enough, they'll change. But they won't. Loving from the wound means choosing from need, not self-love. Those who enter your life don't come to heal. They mirror what you haven't healed. That's why it repeats. Even with different faces, The pattern remains. Emptiness, anguish, hope in crumbs. You spend months, years, decades waiting for your fabricated story to become real. But it won't. It was never love. It was a reflection of fear. The bravest thing isn't waiting. It's facing the pain, admitting you lied, justified the unjustifiable because you didn't know how to live without the illusion. That's where change begins. Stop lying to yourself. Choose reality, dignity over need. It's not easy, but necessary. No real change happens without truth. The harshest truth liberates most. Repeating trauma. How your childhood wound recreates pain. After a breakup or falling into another consuming relationship, you ask, how did this happen again? What hurts isn't just what you lived, it's realizing you chose it again. This isn't coincidence. It's an unconscious mechanism, a pattern rooted too deep to cut with willpower. Carl Jung said, what isn't made conscious manifests as fate. Unhealed wounds don't vanish. They manifest in how you love, bond, give. When a wound is trapped in childhood, abandonment, rejection, betrayal, it etches into your emotional system as a map. You repeat not to suffer, but because your soul needs closure. Intimate relationships become the stage where unresolved wounds play out. Where you're most vulnerable, you activate trauma. That's why you fall irrationally in love, feeling someone is destiny, your other half. But it's unconscious recognition. Your wound says, this resembles the abandonment I lived. Instead of fleeing, you stay, believing you can repair it this time. But they aren't there to heal you. They're there to show you what's unhealed. Until you see this, you'll repeat the trauma. Trauma drags you to the familiar, even if it destroys you. It makes the new seem dangerous, the healthy boring, the simple unreal. Your body survives storms. Calm feels empty, anxious. Unhealed trauma connects you to fear and distances you from healing. Until made conscious, your wound recreates situations resembling your past. Worse, you'll justify it, defend it, confuse it with love. If you grew up believing love must be earned, unconditional love feels wrong. You seek the unavailable, the unchoosing, those who make you feel inadequate. Not because you're foolish, but because trauma still controls you. Trauma isn't calmed by others' love, it's calmed by consciousness. Dare to look back with new eyes. Realize the child who felt abandoned, who believed she had to be perfect to be loved, still waits for someone to say, I see you, you're enough. But no one can give that except you. Seeking external fixes for internal wounds keeps you in the abyss. Relationships don't heal. They expose wounds, show unintegrated parts. Each repetition offers a choice. Sink deeper or use the pain as a door to healing. Repetition isn't punishment. It's a mirror. Stare honestly, without judgment, and the pattern breaks. Not overnight, but when you stop chasing what harms you. When you stop justifying, set boundaries from self-love. Walk away not from lack of feeling, but refusal to bleed for someone who can't care. This is true awakening. A woman who faces her wound with compassion no longer stays where there's no reciprocity. She doesn't accept emotional crumbs. She doesn't need to convince herself a near love is enough. A woman who heals doesn't repeat trauma. She transforms it into wisdom. She loves anew, not from lack, but awareness, healing and choosing. Differently, the awakening that changes everything. There comes a moment when something inside breaks, not into an abyss, but into light. A crack that opens eyes, soul, truth. When you can no longer uphold the lie, justify what isn't love, chase what never truly chose you. Even if you still love, you choose to leave. Even if it hurts, you let go. Even trembling, you prioritize yourself. This is awakening. Healing isn't magic or linear. It's sitting with yourself and saying, yes, I was that child who didn't feel enough. Yes, I learned to love through sacrifice, waiting, fear. Yes, I betrayed myself to keep others. Then add what changes everything, no more. When pain stops being an excuse and becomes fuel, not to justify what you allow, but to build what you deserve. That's healing. Stop repeating from the wound, start choosing from consciousness. Carl Jung's individuation is the soul meeting itself, living not for others, masks or expectations, but integrating shadow, wound, history. Understanding them stops projection. You no longer choose from emptiness, seek validation. Prove worth through another's love. You finally grasp what no one taught you when you needed it most. You are enough, not a platitude, a truth etched in your body through inner work, facing avoided pain. Stop running, begging, chasing. Walk toward yourself. Come home. The path isn't perfect. You'll relapse, doubt, miss what hurt you. The emotional system reverts to the known. But now you know. You've seen. The pattern. Touched bottom. That dark bottom became the door to your real worth. A woman who sees herself truthfully stops negotiating dignity, investing where there's no reciprocity, begging love from indifference. She finds peace alone, enjoys her silence, body, choices. She loves from fullness, not lack, chooses consciously, not from wounds. The love that enters her life doesn't make her doubt, chase, or confuse. Real love doesn't exhaust or demand daily battles to be seen. It sees you in silence, cares without asking, chooses with actions. Most importantly, real love doesn't fill your void. It accompanies you as you fill it from within. This happens when you choose differently, not because fear or love fades, but because you chose yourself first. You understood the most important love isn't what you receive, but what you stop denying yourself. That changes everything. Healing your wound is stopping the chase for love and becoming it. You've read this far because you knew. Because part of you refuses to repeat pain with new faces. Now you see clearly. Your story doesn't end where you were hurt. It begins where you stop perpetuating the wound with every choice. Healing isn't forgetting. It's facing it and refusing to abandon yourself so others stay. A woman who heals doesn't become cold or distrustful. She becomes conscious, and that consciousness frees her. Free to not beg love. Free to not carry what isn't hers. Free to say, I didn't come to this life to beg for what I deserve in full. Carl Jung said the soul has an instinct toward wholeness. Wholeness isn't achieved by others filling your void. It's choosing to complete yourself from within. Today you're ready. Ready to release the pattern, the trauma, the version of you that believed being chosen meant worth. Now begins the new. Not from fear, but truth. If you feel this, leave it in the comments. I no longer chase love. I am love. From there, everything changes. This is the woman you're becoming. If you've made it here, you're ready to transform. But this is just the start. Watch the next video to deepen this journey. Click now, subscribe, and turn on notifications for content that can truly change how you see life. See you next time.